Why do you see the same result in your life? Why do the same happenings occur? Perhaps different people, different scenario, but invariably the same outcome. Such that once you see that scenario, instinctively you know this is how it's going to end. Most times, negatively so. Today I'm about to review what you term as patterns and explain it such that it's no longer regarded to as this abstract notion. The problem or the cause behind this problem is your mindset. Your mindset has exclusive control over your life. Now, when I say mindset, I don't limit it to the law of attraction or manifestation as you know it. And these are all right in its balance. But I'm about to share with you a new perspective. Let's explore this thought pattern together. Your mindset has exclusive control over your life. There's the story of this shepherd boy who was guarding his flocks. He spotted a wolf all of a sudden, grabbed his staff, and began walking towards it. Instantly, he stopped. He was reminded of the law of reaction. He chose to observe the wolf instead. Over time, he established patterns of how the wolf reacted. Armed with this knowledge, he is now in a better position to protect his flocks. Extrapolated to your own life, you must begin to observe your patterns. You must begin to observe your actions, and not just your actions, but the philosophy behind them. Majority of you go out and say, I want to change my life, and you focus on the actions that you take and the steps, which is cool by the way. At least action shows that you're committed to a better life. Action shows is the first step to reclaiming back your power and that you're disciplined enough to make and take the first step towards becoming a better individual or the success in that endeavor which you have devoted your time and your heart towards. But action alone isn't going to guarantee that result. Take for instance, someone who says, or take for instance, a man who abuses his wife. He comes home one day, honey, I'm no longer going to hit you, irregardless of how I feel. And by evening, he's already smacked her. The problem or the solution to that problem is not chanting positive affirmations, it's not repeating mantras. The solution is to probe the philosophy behind that action. Perhaps he has sustained a wrong mindset that teaches once you beat the shit out of your wife, she respects you. So until you solve that problem and reorient him that there are other ways to derive respect from your partner that doesn't involve the fist fight, you would invariably be a slave to that mindset, irregardless of how much he tries to stop that action. At the back of his mind, maybe he might not clearly articulate it, but stopping or not partaking in that action is the direct equivalent to his respect dwindling. No man wants to be disrespected, especially by his partner. Men would give up their life to scale up the corporate ladder and become a manager or a CEO in some company where they get a little bit of respect. Although I'm trying to streamline this to relationship aspect, it's not limited to that strata alone. Mindset. A step further would be something I refer to as stronghold. Stronghold now becomes where that belief system is now fortified by external forces spiritual forces to make sure that the victim is kept perpetually in that thought line. That's why most of you try to do something, you find yourself reverting back to the initial behavior. You try to introduce things like motivation, discipline. All of these are external factors. The real problem, the real action you should take is the philosophy behind the reverting. Why do you do XYZ? I'm obese. Okay, why do you enjoy being obese? Of course, it's comfortable. Of course, there are rational answers behind that situation. But if you've been following me long enough, you know I like to approach things from a psychological perspective. Anytime you're faced with a question and the answer is obvious or the answer is rational, try to probe deeper. Is in the discovery, is in the pressing that you will discover alternative solutions, alternative answers to that same question. For instance, every company goes on a sale, correct? Say a company puts sticker outside and there's a long queue. Of course, it will see a spike in sale. Conversely, if they just slash prices without the theater surrounding it, the air of desperation that's been artificially created, the long queues, the visual splendor of the empty shelves directly to the queue, are they going to see a spike in price? Perhaps not. So, what engenders the spike in sale? Is it really this? Is it really the slashing of prices, or is it the air of desperation that was created, or is it the fact that humans like to get things on a bargain, like to get quality stuff for less? This idea that we got something lesser than what someone else would pay for it is soothing, not just because not just from the economical perspective, but there's something it does to you psychologically when you know you could have gotten something for more and you got it for less. Am I advocating for you to be a cheapskate? No, but just for illustration purposes. Mindset. Mindset are very powerful. So stronghold keeps you perpetually within that thinking space. And the problem with thinking, I know this video is thought centric and you're asking the question, how does thinking relate to my actions? Since you clearly stated at the initial stages of this video that this has nothing to do with manifestation. So where is the linear correlation? I'll tell you. How you think determines how you act. How you act produces the ultimate quality of your life. So how you think. So instead of focusing on the action, which would be the logical solution of trying to change your life by changing things, people look at their life and it's shit. So what they do is they go out and get that Gucci belt, or they go out and get the latest edition of the iPhone series. All of that is changing your externalities, not changing the mindset that produces the relation, that produces the results, which is poverty. So you sustain the wrong consciousness relative to money. Majority of people have all kind of limiting beliefs, especially in this subject of money. They have been taught that money is bad. In order to get money, you have to do some cutthroat shit. Rich people are evil. The reality of it is, as sincere as your teacher or your parents or whoever gave you that mindset was, it is wrong. Do you believe you're a good person? Of course I am. Does that mean that giving you money would be a tool to do more good? Of course. Then if this is the case, why don't you get money? You see all these kind of haters, all these people who claim they hate money, they disdain financial rewards. Do you want a $10,000 raise? Of course I want. So why do you want this thing that you clearly detest? I've forgotten this awesome writer, but he said, even the people who despise fame write a book, or even let me rephrase that, even the people who write a book despising fame want the book to bear their name in the title cover and hope to get famous for despising it. Isn't it funny? So whenever you're confronted with a problem, instead of focusing on the action to solve or focusing on the solution alone, making it action based, as wonderful as this is, focus on the philosophy that produced that problem. This is a very nuanced point. Of course, this does not apply generally speaking. For instance, in business, you always have to be action oriented, but limited to the personal development space, especially when you're trying to improve your life, to improve your existence. Focus on the philosophy that brings about that result, and you'll be fine, which is the first one. So we've talked about mindset and how it has exclusive control over your life. Another thing I would like us to touch on is your prosperity is as a result of your philosophy and your paradigm, not as a result of the economy. When we speak about poverty, we're speaking territorially, the GDP, and all other facets. But at an individual level, the economy is not the problem. The problem is you. Billionaires did not become wealthy necessarily by the business that profited them, but the mindset they sustained in keeping that business in a going concern. Every business you're failing at, someone else is succeeding at. The distinction is the mindset. Isn't it funny that you could be on a sandwich, you could be in the same line of business with XYZ, and XYZ is raking in millions, potentially billions, and you could barely make a sale. There are one of two things you can employ. The first one is to become bitter, to cause brother XYZ to attribute all kind of negativity towards him, and go from one prayer house to the other saying brother XYZ has stolen your star or your destiny. Especially here in Africa, we have so many superstitious beliefs, especially regarding this topic of success. You hear things like, oh, come, let me pray for you, and you become successful. I say this humorously speaking. I remember when I was desperate for finances. I went to this prayer house. The woman said, if I bathe with this bottle of honey for X amount of days, I'll be rich. I looked at it and said, well, it's worth a try. Guess what happened? Nothing. Now, I do not say this to discriminate Christians or to downplay the prophetic. Of course, there's a place for that. But most often than not, God, in His mercy, withholds certain kind of results from believers, not because He's evil, but He wants you to grow, to become the kind of person that attracts that result naturally. Imagine you being handed $1 billion without any effort. You become a risk to yourself and God by extension. Because the unfortunate reality is people gravitate towards results, and these your newfound disciples are at your mercy, on their knees, willing to learn your wisdom. Once you indoctrinate this philosophy that you don't need to work, all you need to do is to pray, and God will answer your prayers. you would mentor a generation after your error and they would believe it because you have obvious results to prove. And mindset are like programming. That's why the Bible says the God of this world is after your mind. It's here to blind your heart. Heart can be substituted for mind in the Bible. If you read it on a long enough time frame, you will see these subtle substitutions. But if the God of this world is after your mind, mindsets are like software programming. You've seen the study that welfare recipients are 3 to 4 generations behind. I used to think the reason was as a result of the absence of material results, absence of inheritance. That's a very generous response. The real reason is the wrong belief system they've sustained. Along the way, they've sustained all kind of limiting belief systems. You are not like them. You are poor. Make sure when you see people, sustain the consciousness that you are poor and you're not like them. Always bow your head down. Always pray and apologize for the simplest of requests. Money is bad. Every single person who got money is evil. Look at us. We are good people and we don't have money. Therefore, they communicate this distorted view of reality to their children. Their children receives this belief system, and beliefs are like software. Regardless of who embodies that belief, as long as you believe in that ideology, good or bad, you will produce the result. If I pick up my iPhone, for instance, and click on the on button, it will activate the device, correct? Regardless of who takes that action, the device will always turn on. The same thing with that recipient guide back to the initial discourse. Once they sustain that mindset, it produces the same result as their parents. Their parents pass down the belief to their children. Their children pass down that same belief to their children's children, creating a progressive generation of welfare recipients until someone arises and becomes that disruptor. Say to yourself, you are the disruptor. You are the person to break the chains of poverty surrounding your family. I hope you've gotten a lot of value. I believe you've gotten a lot of value. Hope is a tenuous word. And as always, my friend, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.